This story is called I'll Be Looking at the Moon. It wasn't always that way, but it was that way now. Every night when he went to bed, he was sleeping with the enemy, her body. You see, her body had practically doubled in size. Ever since that betrayal, she went to war with herself. Their bed was a battleground, and they were no longer on the same sides. It had become her highest duty to protect herself from any unwanted advances. And unless she was in the mood to surrender, he was the intruder and the battle begun. Night after night, it was hit or miss. She dodged all of his efforts to rescue her from shame and defended her mission to block his advances quite well. If only he hadn't been the target of her suspicion, his strategies might have led to more victories. But as it currently sits, he was the spy who loved her. She camouflaged her injuries as best she could, but she was internally bleeding, and that's why he could never capture her resistance. If he reached for her stomach, take cover, she'd ambush him with her heaviest artillery, mood control. Once she said, "I'm not in the mood," he was pinned. Yet he was not the kind of man to banish his post. There was fire in her hold. She was a sniper, and he never saw her coming. She had captured his heart long ago. Now he was a prisoner for her love. But he was in no current position to secure any further advancement. She had never been a bombshell, but she had to admit things had really blown apart between them. He took a hit repeatedly, and it was evident that the odds of winning her affection were stacked against him. The naked truth was she would do anything to shield herself from his unwanted glances. It was a mission impossible, but he was determined not to miss his mark. But once she determined she had inadequate supplies, more artillery was needed. She no longer delivered her goods. She was a POW, prisoner of weight, and there was just one thing left to do if this war was ever going to end: shut off the lights. He knew the rules of engagement, sex in the dark. Ever since she had kids, her stomach became enemy territory, and the Battle of the Bulge began. When she looks in the mirror, somewhere between the stretch marks and rolls of flesh is a belly button. Her stomach's been visually massacred. After the C-section, it was pretty near slaughtered. After that, in order to make it to her foxhole, you needed to maneuver yourself in very carefully. One wrong move and sex was history. At any time, a landmine could go off in her head, and all of his efforts thus far would blow up in his face. It wasn't a pretty sight. For the rest of the night, he'd be on her six, right behind her. But when you're a private and she's the sergeant, you do as you're commanded. Man down. He told her once if she became a casualty of war, he'd never be able to identify her body. But sometimes, late at night, as they lie naked in bed together, the moon lights up the whole room and sees fire. In those moments of tranquility, he whispers in her ear how he loves to feel her body next to his. He tells her he longs to caress her and that he loves her body. He loves how it fits perfectly with his. There in the moonlight, he can hear her sigh just before drifting off to sleep. "I love you too, body and soul." She wished she had a little less body. He lies there awake, staring at the moon. "I'll be looking at the moon," he thinks to himself, "but I'll be seeing you." This song is called "I'm Dreaming of Sex in the Daylight," sung to the tune of "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas." I'm dreaming of sex in daylight, just like the way it used to be, where you don't scream, "Honey, don't touch my tummy, shut out the lights so you can't see." I'm dreaming of sex in daylight, when all my fat can be ignored. May you dare revealing much more, when there's more to love than e'er before. I'm dreaming of sex in daylight, when I'll be naked and feel whole. When I'm not distracted and unreacted, he's grabbed my fat and won't let go. I'm dreaming of sex in daylight, may you be naked and all right. If you can't do it in the light, then by God, at least do it all night.